And I'm sure for those that will go to the 5 stand, you will also realize that deworming is also critical. And I'm sure, have you guys gone for the nutrition view with windmill? Have you? Okay, so you also see that one other critical area, because for every farmer that's doing cattle, what exactly is the goal of a farmer that's doing cattle? Kana wanashita mombe, tenshida kuita say, ndine mombe dzangu 10. What exactly am I trying to achieve as a farmer?
Profit.
Ndine mamo wangu 10. Huh? You want them to have a calf every year, right? So for you to achieve that, you need to be carrying out specific practices, and the winter time is critical. If you don't manage your winter time well, from a nutrition point of view, from an animal health point of view, and management point of view, then you would get to see that you're not going to be able to achieve your targets. So that's the reason why we've decided to set up this stands. So when we're looking at dipping, I would want you to share, if you look at the chart that we've got, okay? There's the side that's written tick-borne disease, okay? So when you look at winter time, okay, as I said, one of the biggest risks that we now have as a country is that we, around June, like May, June, we're starting to get outbreaks of theileriosis or January disease. I don't know if you have noticed, but for those that are coming from Fort Vixen or other parts of the country, we know that January disease is becoming a problem. But anyway, as a start, I would want to just introduce you and talk about what are the most important ticks that we have in Zimbabwe, okay, that spread diseases. So we've got what we call the blue tick. If you look at your chart, it's the tick that's at the top. Unfortunately, ndakapfeka my gloves. I wish I wasn't wearing my gloves. It's like the inside, it's slate yellow. The feet, they are slate yellow. I've had farmers ask me, and they say, which one is the blue tick? Which one is the brown ear tick? Is the brown ear tick the fat one? What do you think? Do you think the brown ear tick is the fat one? What do you think? We want it to be we want to have a dialogue, because I know Anzi Chikoro Chakuru Unite School. Chakafuta, the fat one. Is that the brown ear tick? What's the name of the fat one?
Blue tick.
Do you all agree? Okay, so you are all wrong. You are all wrong, because when you look at our ticks, there is a male and a female. So the male in a shell, like it's like a tortoise. Can a tortoise become fat? It can't, right? Because of the shell. So that's your males. Your females, those are the ones that are not footer. And because they have a skin that's elastic, and they also lay eggs. So those will be eggs. Okay. So your ticks, you differentiate them based on the color of legs or feet. So for blue ticks, they've got slate yellow feet. Then we've got another tick, that's the board tick. Yeah. It's an important tick in Zimbabwe. It transmits Isusu. I don't know in Ndebele what you call it. It's hot water. We call it in Shona, we call it Chizeze, kind of Chindende. What do you call it in Ndebele? Ndebele people, you are not patriotic. We've got a name for it. Then so that spreads hot water. It's more common in sheep and goats, but you also see it in cattle. Then we've got the one that causes theileriosis. I would want to ask one question that I feel that is intriguing. Why do you think that we are having theileriosis so much? Doc, I'm not getting into your presentation. Why do you think that we've got a problem with theileriosis in Zimbabwe? Is it an issue of resistance or what? What exactly is happening?
I think it's due to less frequent dipping.
Less frequent dipping, yes?
Illegal movement.
Huh?
Illegal movement of animals.
Illegal movement of cattle. What else? Is it not resistance? Huh? How many think that is resistance? A raise of hand. We're in class, people.
There are so many.
Huh?
There
are not so many. It's not an issue of resistance, guys. The only tick that has developed resistance across the world that has been recorded is your blue tick. Your blue tick causes red water and goat sickness. How many cases of red water and goat sickness have killed your cattle? In large numbers. Like where I've lost 10 cattle because of goat sickness. Okay, so that's fine. So those are the type of ticks. And one thing that's peculiar about this tick, different from all the ticks, and I like the answer that was given, frequency of dipping. And during winter, how are you dipping, farmers? Unless if I'm talking to other people that are not farmers.
Once every 2 weeks.
Once every 2 weeks. Is that good enough?
No.
Why? Huh?
Not running the less ticks.
All right, so basically, let me just try to move, quicker. So basically with the blue tick, so your blue tick, it spends 18 to 21 days on an animal. Okay, so that's why we're getting resistance, because it's getting the most exposure when it comes to ticks. And when we're looking at dipping, it's one of the ticks that we need to think about, because right now we've got certain chemicals, certain areas where certain chemicals don't work. And it's because of the abuse of dipping, or not having the right management or deep rotation program. And that is where we can come and help you. And I'm happy to have a discussion outside this training with any of you. Then we've got bond ticks. They spend about 5 to 7 days on an animal. Okay. What's peculiar about the brown ear tick, which is causing us so much problem, is that it's a fast feeder. It spends about 3 to 5 days on an animal. What does that mean? If you dip today and you dip after 2 weeks, how many feedings will it have had?
Yeah.
Most of the dips that we have, they cover your animals for about 4.5 days. And we are leaving the other 2 days so that your animals develop a little bit of resistance. But in the case where you know that it's a problem, even summer, winter, let's do weekly dip. Okay? Because of the problem of January disease. And the tick that we're dealing with is a fast feeder. Have you ever asked yourself, whenever you've got a problem with January disease, the vet will tell you dip 554 or dip every 4 days? It's because this tick spends 3 to 5 days. So if you dip at that period, it means that you're clearing. And when you're looking at these ticks, farmers don't just look at your animals. These things also live in the environment. Okay. All right. I'm not here to do a lecture, but I just wanted you to at least have an appreciation. So why is it important for us to dip our cattle? So the reason is, out of 10 animals that die, 8 die as a result of tick-borne disease. That's why it's important. So if we control ticks, what do? We reduce our mortalities by 80%. If I lost 10 animals last year, this year I will lose 2. If I fail in all ways, but dip. Okay? Second, that's the reason why we recommend dipping. Number 2, another important, we're trying to make a profit. If you don't dip your cattle, they don't gain as much weight as they should. Okay?
Sorry, you
Yes,
said
sir.
something about the environment.
Okay, you want me to get back financial of the environment.
Yeah.
So when you look at the life cycle of a tick, and sorry, I don't know the very one. I promise in 2 years I'll be speaking the very fluent. So what happens is that the ticks, they spend time on the animal. Like typically your brown ear tick, it jumps onto the first host. It spends 3 to 5 days. It feeds. At that point, or maybe let me start from the egg. So ticks, they lay their eggs, the brown ear tick. That egg, it's laid in the environment. In the right environmental temperature and moisture, it hatches. Just like a chicken. It hatches, it produces a larvae. That's the first stage. That larvae, it jumps onto an animal as the animals are coming to graze from the environment. From jumping from that animal, it as its meal, 3 to 5 days, it drops off again. Jumps onto the next animal. Okay? Feeds 3 to 5 days, gets into the ground. At that stage, it will be a nymph. Then it jumps onto the third animal as an adult. So when you look at January disease, it also has a very high rate of spreading. Because look at the number of times that it's moving from one animal to the other. And when you're going to get a case now, it's a case from last year, because it spends about 3 to 4 months in the environment without jumping or without maturing into the next stage. Okay. Anyway, we don't need to dwell on that too much. So I think we now understand why dipping is important. I think the next important thing is now talking about what other tick-borne diseases we have that are important. Tick-borne disease before taenda kuti tiite demonstration. If you don't answer, you make it so difficult for me because I feel like a preacher and I don't have that gift. Which other diseases? The answers from the government. So anyway, the other diseases, there is gore sickness, there is red water, there is heartworm. Okay, those are your major tick-borne diseases. Then as I said, during winter, this is the time that we're also trying to prevent diseases. How else do we prevent diseases besides the dipping and deworming or dosing? How else? Rosalind, can you help us?
Vaccination.
Vaccination, thank you. So vaccination, that's the other way. And when we're looking at vaccination, in Zimbabwe we've got major diseases that we recommend vaccinating. We've got blackleg, botulism and anthrax, that's 3 in 1. We recommend that to be done across the country. We've got lumpy skin disease. It's widespread throughout the country, so we recommend farmers to be vaccinating every time, like yearly basically. And the time to vaccinate is winter, because we know there are not a lot of diseases that are being spread, so we use that opportunity to prevent, such that when the rains come, our cattle will be protected. Okay? Then another disease that's also critical and is by law that you should be vaccinating against it is contagious abortion. Okay? Contagious abortion, there's a vaccine called RB51. We can supply you with that. Even in terms of the vaccine, we can also supply you with all those. So in terms of ticks and tick-borne diseases, we also have going back to the issue of national tick resistance. How often should one be changing their dips from one group to the other? Rotate my dips. Toma rotate how often? It's either I'm talking to myself or people are not interested in talking to me.
Means that we don't know.
We don't know. We don't know how often.
Okay.
How should do that.
So that's why we're keeping quiet.
When I left the product, it works well for me, I stick to
You
it.
stick to it.
Yeah.
All right. So when you look at resistance in ticks develops as a result of it's genetic, and the more you stick to only one product, the much easier it will be to develop resistance. But I'm not saying that you should be rotating it too much. For me, at the most, you should be rotating your dips in between seasons, like from winter into summer, from summer getting into winter. Like in our case, we've got products like Decatix, okay? I mainly recommend this product. You can use it throughout the year, but make sure that when you're getting into summer, when your flies are plenty, you use Decatix because it controls flies, ticks, and other external parasites. And we know that when it's raining, we've got a lot of flies, and there are other diseases that are being spread by flies, because as we are dipping, we are also trying to control these flies as well, because they spread diseases like 3-day stiff sickness, lumpy skin disease as well. Okay? Then as you get into maybe summer, you can change into something like Triatix. So when you look at Decatix has got a chemical. It's in the chemical group called synthetic pyrethroids. I don't want you to claim that name, but it's in a chemical group called pyrethroids. Okay? So as you are changing, you don't want to be changing from one pyrethroid moving on to the next one. Okay? Like when you look at Decatix and Spot On, they are all pyrethroids. So it doesn't make sense for me to move from this to this. Okay? So we've got pyrethroids, we've got what we call ammeters-based dips. Okay? In ammeters-based dips, we've got things like Triatix, maybe Tick Buster, and many other products. So Triatix is an amitrust based. It controls mites and ticks. Okay? So when you are changing, you'd rather change from here maybe to this, because it's a different group. It's within amitrust. It's not a pyrethroid. And this is why I always tell farmers, when you are intending to change your dips or come up with a program, let us help you, because you can get another, who would know that these two products have got the same active, but they've got different names and they're in different forms. You may change and you're thinking you're actually changing dips. Then the third one is, so super deep, sorry, I was raising the wrong product. So Triatix is an amitrust based, okay? So from there you can then change to super deep, okay? Super deep is an organophosphate. It's a paper label. The only problem is that if you're trying to preserve dung beetles, your oxpeckers, this may kill them. So we try to reduce usage of such products. And as we are rotating our products, we need to do it in a prudent way. I'm sure you go to the clinic, you've got a flu, they're not going to give you azithromycin right away. I'm sure we all know what azithro is. We've all gotten COVID. They give you as the last call. But now I know that farmers will go for the biggest gun and they will say, I want to use the biggest gun. But unfortunately, if you use the biggest gun, when that big gun dies, your small gun will not work anymore. So that's another concept that you need to understand in terms of tick control. All right? So I think in terms of tick control, are there any questions before I hand over to Dr. Mdlongwa? Then we can do our demo. Or any areas that you'd want me to talk about on more?
Are you going to come up with new products soon? Because
Yeah.
you just said your effective time for these chemicals is about 3 to 4 days. Can you not work out and come up with something that will stay longer?
So she was asking about us coming up with a product that lasts much longer. Longer than the 4.5 days that I was talking about. Let me just try to address the question, then I will come to you. So, getting a product that stays longer, it means that product will also have persistence within the environment, because we're trying to balance. So that's number one. So we need to have a balance to that, because there are actually regulations in terms of how much a product persists. Okay. Then number two, if we get a product that covers completely, we also need to make sure that we are balancing, not losing our animals, but also building resistance in our animals. Anyway, and I think that's why it's very critical that as farmers we come up with ways to actually monitor our cattle, where we've got a method of monitoring the health of our animals, working with our teams to monitor their health. And you know, as Coopers, it's one area that we are very strong in. We've got a model called primary animal health care model, which we can train to you and your guys. I mean, from here we can always sit down and talk about how we can implement that. What that does, it just helps your guys know how to pick when an animal is sick without looking at the disease. But the next stage is even when they are talking to a vet or whoever, they can give them the right information for them to diagnose and give them a solution even over the phone. But we can talk about it further on. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
And chop another type on that.
Saka azviite mukomo because vafana kuti iwoka une because mushonga iyi yakafanana kuti pane sugar nesalt. They all add to our taste, and but they don't work the same. If you put salt and sugar, azvibatani. Saka you need to, they have to be that specific chemical. You can't say kuti, let's say kuti mudhibha mangu mune decatix, ndakuda kutopa ndotopa ne triatix, because inofanira kunge yakasvika concentration.
So you must remove that water then.
You must empty, and when you're looking at a plunge dip, for example, every 2 years you should empty. But it's not necessarily just 2 years. Sometimes you not years are Ramadan, so you have to empty. But unfortunately, time and up one, does varese, number try, but you know, they refuse.
We talked about the issue of the ticks being in the environment.
Yes.
It means practically grass or...
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where I am,
Yeah.
the gold banners, they burn almost every winter, the grass.
Okay.
So, but still, disease comes next season.
Okay.
The green comes.
Okay.
So the fire doesn't help or what? Because when we grew up, we were even told that the white people burn a certain section of the farm.
To control ticks. Yeah.
So, but now for us,
So when they burn, do they burn like your whole farm and your farm becomes a plain and there's no grass at all? Or how does it? No, sorry, desert. Saka usko unengo chiba.
next season is in
But during that time, what will your animals be eating?
some they die, some.
But do you give them hay bales?
Yes.
So hay bales, they can also keep ticks.
So
Like that hay bale, in between there will be some ticks.
those who said hey,
The pigs stays the grass anyway, guys.
I think guys, we can continue talking. I'm going to let timekeeper. What is our time? Like, because Dr. Mlonga needs to come and we need to do the demo.
Okay, you've done around 32 minutes of speaking.
Okay, so maybe Dr. Mlonga needs to come, then we do the demo.